Hi, it's Misty again. I just went into the pharmacy to take the prescription in, and it was sent over during my appointment earlier today. So when I went in and talked to her about other things that I needed also, she said it would be about 2 hours. So I don't really want to drive all the way home and all the way back, but 2 hours is a long time to sit here and not do anything. So I went to the store beside it and did a little bit of browsing around, but I don't know, my mind really isn't on worrying about little things. I just keep thinking about my situation. So one thing that I haven't really talked about at all is how I am doing emotionally with all this. My battery just come up at 15%, so I'll have to watch and see how much time that gives me. Emotionally, if I stick to the facts and look at the medical information, I can kind of put all the emotional thoughts to the side and just kind of numb myself to it all. I get frustrated and overwhelmed by how life dumps everything on us at one time, kind of like what I said in the last video about not only do I start my cancer treatment tomorrow, we have to make sure to get the animals over to where they need to go and all that. So I don't actually think that Troy's going to be able to go with me to chemo tomorrow, but I'll power through. I always do. It's just nice having him with me. When I went in for my biopsy, the appointment before that, the tech I asked her what she could tell me about it. I know they're very limited on what they can tell the patient. Even though they do have knowledge, they're not really supposed to tell the patient anybody until the report's done up. So I asked her, what can you tell me? And she said, well, what they do during this appointment is they take measurements and look at different aspects of the lump or whatever, the mass they're looking at. And then they, I think it was a radiologist. No, I can't remember what the doctor's title is. But anyways, they look at it and give it a BI-RADS score. So I think I had read about BI-RADS before that, but I didn't think to ask her what my score was. And chances are she wouldn't have known what it was at that appointment. So when I went back 3 days later for the biopsy, that was one of my first questions. What is the BI-RADS score? And she looked at my chart and she says, oh, I don't think it says on here. I can find out for you. And then we get chatting about something else and she goes, oh, here it is. And she says it is a 4A. I can't remember if I talked about this in one of the other videos, but so no, what the heck did they say it was? Anyways, she said it. I'm getting all mixed up because so much is on my mind right now. Anyways, she said it was what would have rated as less than 10% chance of it being malignant. And I thought, wow, well, that's pretty good odds. Like 10% of winning, the 10% chance of winning anything is pretty much not going to win it. So if I only had 10% chance of having cancer, that's so small, I'm pretty safe. So she left the room to go talk to the doctor and let him know that I was ready for the biopsy. And I was kind of chilled. I think partly nerves going in there. And so she come back with a warm blanket and I laid there waiting for them to come back with the warm blanket, and I was kind of celebrating the fact that the odds were in my favor. So in come the tech and the doctor introduced himself and says, and the tech says, well, when I read your chart, I misread it, and And what I thought your score was isn't what it is. It's actually a BI-RADS 5. And BI-RADS 5 is 95+% chance of malignancy, of cancer. And oh, it was like such a kick in the gut. Like the way things work out, that I was all excited and happy and thought that there was, the odds were in my favor and I was kind of celebrating. And then moments later for it to come back and say, no, this is the worst score you can get, was really hard on me emotionally. And I try my darndest to keep my tears to myself and all that. And at one point, while they were doing the biopsy, I know one tear escaped, but I didn't let anyone see it because if someone notices and comments, then I'm pretty sure I'll break down and won't be able to rein it in. So anyways, the doctor went on and said, yes, this is definitely cancer. And talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. And he was actually very informative. So it was a good appointment. And I suppose I was probably better off being informed sooner rather than later. But it was an absolute emotional roller coaster. So I went home and waited for the results to show up on the online apps that we can get our medical information from. And I phoned my doctor and asked his assistant if they had the report yet, and she said she would get it to me as soon as they got it. And I ended up getting it before, or no, actually, sorry, she phoned me and said that they got the report and wanted me to come see the doctor the next day. It would be easier to go over this in person than it would be to do it over the phone. So I asked her if she would send the report to me because it was just showing up as pending on my app. And it's really hot in here. So I went and read it, and sure enough, it was not a good report to read, but it was, I don't know, I guess on one hand, I just know you just have to power through and keep going, but it's definitely a roller coaster. Then another thing that was kind of shocking on my emotions was the morning we were driving to the hospital for my cancer surgery to get my lumpectomy. We're listening to a song on the radio, and it was CBC radio, so it has not your top 10 music. It has all this other interesting stuff and a lot of talk radio on there. So the song ends, and all of a sudden this quite loud voice comes on and says, the #1 cause of death in Canada is cancer. And it was just like totally shocking because we were literally driving to the hospital for my cancer surgery. And I just couldn't help do anything but think, wow, how ironic, and try to make a funny out of it just to kind of get through. But it definitely threw me for a loop emotionally. I looked over at my husband and his face was just white. It wasn't easy for him either. There has just been so many of these unnecessary pokes that make things emotionally harder, or maybe it's so that I have to feel all the feelings. Well, I don't know, it's definitely not fun. Coming in here and having to wait 2 hours for the medicine that I need before tomorrow, it's frustrating. But I am hoping that with any luck, they will get the prescription filled and send me a text and I can go in and get it a little bit early. But I thought this would give me a chance to pop on and maybe address some of the, or not address, but share some of the emotions that I'm having. Oh, it's really tough. I go through There's 5 things that I've come across online that would make a person high risk of this type of breast cancer, and one is Black ancestry. And if I have any in my background, it is so minimal that I wouldn't think that that would make me high risk. The other thing would be having children at a later age and never breastfeeding. Well, my first child, I was 18 years old when he was born, so that's definitely not later in life. And both my children I breastfed, so I don't think that would put me in the high risk category. Smoking increases your risk. I did smoke, but I quit smoking 20 years ago, so I didn't think that that would put me in a high risk. Alcohol increases your risk of cancer. I honestly don't think I've been even tipsy since I was in my 20s. At most, I'll have 2 drinks in a day, if it's maybe one in the afternoon, and maybe 1 or 2 in the evening at most, but that is very rare. If I ever finish 2 drinks in a day, that's impressive. Lots of times I'll open it up, not even finish it. It sits in the fridge till the next day, and that's even then rare. I have decided that because drinking will increase my chance of recurrence, I'm just not going to drink because it's not that important to me. But even before I decided that, in probably March or April, I haven't had a drink since early December at my husband's Christmas party, and I probably hadn't had a drink before that since maybe even the summer. And I think I had 1 drink at the Christmas party just because it was called the Grinch and it just kind of seemed fun. The drink itself did. What was the other thing? Oh, age. So this type of cancer is more something that a person would get when they're older. So being 50 or under puts me in the too young category for it, or for it to be high risk. I can't remember if that was all 5. The heritage, children, drinking, smoking. Oh, and the other is being obese. Well, my weight has fluctuated over my life, and there's been times that I've been chubby. If anything, I think I'm chubbier now than I ever have been. And I really have a hard time believing that my size would be considered obese enough to put me at high risk of breast cancer. So it's very mind-boggling why I got this. And I suppose on top of why did I get this? Why did I get such a severe kind? I don't know, it's hard to wrap my mind around. I've lived a pretty healthy lifestyle. Not perfect, nobody's perfect. I try to make the right choices, but that was hard on me emotionally. The other day I made a comment to my husband about how expensive those injections are, and his response was, well, I guess I'll have to keep working for a while so that we have our extended health insurance through his work. And that was emotional for me because I don't want him to feel obligated to work because I need medical insurance. I want him to work, especially at whatever job he's working at, because he loves to go there every day. So I don't know, there's lots of different things that play an emotional toll on me. It was really hard telling my family. I haven't told any of my friends. I don't know how. I ran into a lady in the store I was just at a few minutes ago, and I really haven't seen her for a long time, and we're not close at all, but there's no way I would tell her what I was going through. And not because she isn't a great person, but I just don't know how to share that kind of information. I remember one time I was at the airport. Can't remember what I was doing there. I must have been picking somebody up, but that's really not important to the story. Anyways, all of a sudden these arms wrap around me and this head on my chest, and this sobbing happens. I didn't even realize that somebody had even spotted me. And this lady that I've known for many years, she starts crying on my shoulder and telling me that she has breast cancer. And I was so shocked by how that all went down. I didn't even know how to respond. I didn't expect to be hugged unexpectedly like that, and then I didn't expect to get those news, and I definitely didn't know how to respond to it. So I feel bad sharing it with other people because they won't know how to respond to this either. I don't know, it's just a real roller coaster of a time. Anyways, I'm going to cut this short. It is getting very hot in here. And I don't know, I guess I have a little over an hour before this prescription's supposed to be ready, so I'll go pick up some groceries and maybe go hang out in the freezer section and cool off a little bit. But I know you guys are all rooting for me. And even though I talked about the emotional part of it, 90% of the time I can put that out of my mind. Just, it is there. I don't want anyone to think that I'm a complete robot, even if I do try to look tough all the time. But anyways, thanks so much for caring and watching my story. Talk to you again soon.